Welcome to Coming Down the Pipe, ARS Global's monthly podcast about pipelines, pipeline construction, investments, and the market in general. We are the streamlined. No, okay, start over. All right. Welcome to Coming Down the Pipe, ARS Global's monthly podcast about pipelines, pipeline construction, investments, and the market in general. We're the midstream partner for Streamlined Sourcing Solutions, and today we have the man, the myth, the legend,
Ryan Piper.
Ryan, why don't you tell everyone what you do for ARS and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, so I've been here for 2.5 years now and handle business development activities, get involved in operations and project management, quoting, entertainment, golfing adventures, golf tournaments, dinners, lunches, so
all the fun stuff. I'm Josh Averitt, president of ARS Global. Been here for about 4 years, and I handle some business development functions as well as some general operations activities. And today, Piper, what we're going to talk about is the role that ARS plays in the sales cycle in our peer-to-peer model and what we offer, I guess, to buyers and to sellers. So, I think there's a misconception about when other brokers or other companies may try to kind of line up two parties in a pipe transaction. And I think the misconception is, buyer, here's the seller, let's all get this pipe bought. And it's not quite that easy, as we both know. And one thing that I want you to talk about today is, what does ARS do for a buyer in the moments after they come to ARS and say, hey man, I need 10 miles of 36-inch pipe. Can you find it? And we say yes. What does that typically look like for you on the business development side? And what services do you offer in that realm?
Well, yeah, we're here to make life easier for our customers and also folks on the selling side as well. So we'll arrange those inspections. We'll schedule those inspections. We'll provide all traceability, prove that MTRs, any type of welding documentation, any document related to that pipe, we'll provide it and show that it's all intact. We'll be involved in the strip and recoat process if necessary. We'll also, we can manage the logistics. Trying to think of what else. I mean, it's the full gamut. It's not just, hey, we connected buyer to seller and, hopefully the transaction occurs. We want to be there and with white gloves, hopefully get that deal across the finish line.
Yep, 100%. And when you talk about, managing the logistics side of it, what does ARS usually do from a logistics perspective?
Well, we can be involved with rail, trucking, sometimes a combo of getting the pipe to a rail spur if one's not close, right there on site at the pipe yard. We've entertained barging pipe from point A to point B as well. So we have preferred logistics folks that we talk to on a daily basis. And they're super helpful and great resource for us.
Sure. And why would a seller or a buyer per se, why would they hire ARS to handle that and not just handle it themselves?
Perhaps they don't have the folks internally that can do it. That they'd rather they're one throat to choke, so to speak. That's kind of where we've been helpful to owner operators in the past.
Sure. And the owner of our company, Tyler Williams, he always preaches focus where your focus needs to be. And I think that hiring ARS really helps the owner or the seller focus their focus where it needs to be, right? And that comes down to even finding buyers for the pipe. I think. The buyers or the buyer organizations like someone's procurement department and oil and gas company's procurement department, they need to be focused on sourcing materials for new projects and making sure their contracts have the right language and moving their organization down the line. They don't need to be focused on evaluating their inventories all the time for idle assets. And then, what does that idle asset look like? It looks like pipe that's sitting in the middle of a farmer's field in the middle of South Texas, with a lease involved, with equipment involved, with overhead involved, and then you go to someone whose job is to purchase the pipe, and you say, "Hey, now I need you to get rid of it." Well, where do they start, right? They don't need to be focused on that, and that's where ARS comes into the picture with our peer-to-peer model. And as the Investment Recovery Association says in their handbook, there's kind of a hierarchy of, I would say, returned capital on your assets, and the top of that hierarchy is an end user, and that's what ARS specializes in focusing on, is the end users. And in turn, a seller can turn idle inventory into cash and receive a lot more cash than they typically would in selling to another broker or to a scrap company. And those other brokers and scrap companies kind of work their way down the triangle of that hierarchy from the Investment Recovery Association. And so what ARS focuses on is the end users, but we also have a network of brokers. And on the last episode, Wendy talked about some of the construction companies that she deals with on a daily basis, and that would be kind of the middle rung, right? It is either a salvage company or another broker, and typically prices are about the same. And then as we work our way down, it goes to scrap. And if it ever gets to scrap, something's gone really, really wrong with all the pipe buyers out there, as well as the reduced returns. It's going to be a massive write-down for any oil and gas company, and that is not a good word around especially around publicly traded companies when you talk about impacts on return per share basis and things like that. When you start taking write-offs every quarter just because your pipe has sat around in a pipe yard for years and years and years, and no one bothered to take a look at it and look at someone like ARS Global that can turn that into some money. So after the sales process goes down and you guys have arranged the inspection and arranged the stripping and recoating and arranged the outbound logistics, how do you start tracking new projects that project's dead and gone. It's done. It's welded up. It's in the ground. So what now for Ryan and Wendy and Dennis and everyone? What happens after that?
Well, we're always tracking projects. So we've got our spreadsheets where we monitor timelines, project names, scope, the gas company, owner, operator, transmission company. Sometimes we're monitoring on the buy side if perhaps there is a canceled project or somebody has left over some surplus. Say that's 3 or 4 miles left over, they bought extra and they need to get rid of the 3 or 4 miles of 10, 12, 16 inch or whatever the case may be. Then we can come in and possibly be a good resource there.
Great. And what would you say is ARS's sweet spot as far as buying inventory? If I was a seller or a gas company and I had some leftover inventory, what would you say ARS's specialty is?
Well, I mean, if you look at our track record, we've purchased several hundred miles of 36 and 42 inch pipe. So I would venture to say that there's probably nothing that's out of our wheelhouse at this point.
Fair enough. And I think that, with all of the CCUS competition going on in the United States right now, and the hydrogen world and things like that, I think that, we're going to maybe have to evolve from that 36 inch and 42 inch model down to some smaller diameters. I think there's going to be some project cancellations down the road, unfortunately, because no one wants to see projects actually get canceled. We want them all to go, but unfortunately it's the nature of our industry and the nature of business, especially when you start looking at speed to market and companies that are a little more nimble than others. They get their pipe in the ground faster and at that point, someone ends up getting left holding the bag. So what we're going to look at is evolving into that 8, 10, 12, 16-inch space, and really try to become the full midstream partner that we know we already are. But one thing, and this is kind of a general message out there. Not only do we purchase 36 and 42-inch pipe, but we also purchase large quantities of small diameter pipe as well. So we're always on the lookout for that. And if there is any out there, we'd love to take a run at it. So, Brian, thanks, man, for joining us. Always fun being with you, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Coming Down the Pipe, our monthly podcast that you can get on any of the platforms that you get your podcasts on. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next month.